That's another nice evening. In fact, we've had a succession of perfect evenings for moth trapping, but this is the first time I've come out since the brilliant night I had at Red Hill a few nights ago. I'm at the outside of Lound Wood this evening, 18th of June it is. There's been good catches around the county these recent nights. Warm nights, hot days, everything you want for lots of moth activity. Hopefully that's what we'll get here. I've stayed local again. We'll give it a couple of hours or so, see how it goes, see what comes in. Won't be that blackbird. That will hopefully keep away from the light, but the moths will be attracted to it. Well, there's a quail just started calling. Always used to love to get quails here, and they were rare. And it's somewhere over the brow of this hill. It might even be across the road in one of the fields. But it's just started calling. Anyway, Red Hill area where I trapped the other night is that lightish field just right of centre to the right of the Loudwood Annex and in front of the 2 turbines. Had 3 new species as a result of that trapping session, and they were Lackey, Hedia salicella and Archips critegana, or the brown oak tortrix or something like that. All 3 new for the Eakring area, and the brown oak tortrix seems to be especially interesting because there's no modern records in Nottinghamshire, at least none that anybody knows of. So that's a really good moth to add to the Eakring area list, which now stands at a tantalising 699. One of the reasons why I've come here this evening is to try and get species number 700. It's a light breeze at the moment. I'm pretty sure that's going to drop as the sky darkens. But what a lovely sky. And the quail is actually not calling from where I thought it was. And I'm not convinced that there's just the one, but it's in the field just over the hedge to the left of the screen and not too far away. If the breeze drops and the quail continues to call, then we'll see if we can capture a most unusual call. Nice to hear quail, and it's a long time since I've been in the Eakring area. But a lovely night ahead. Nice conditions, nice temperatures, hopefully some nice moths too. Well, a steady start to this evening's proceedings, but we have a good moth already. And if it settles down on the sheet and I can get to film it, then I'll show you that way. If not, it's going to be a couple of nice photographs, because in here is a lilac beauty. It's a moth I've never showed you before, and to be honest, it's only the second time that I've trapped this moth. Found the larva on one other occasions, but the first time had this moth, Dillis netted it not a handful of yards away from where I'm trapping now, and haven't seen the adult since. It's an absolutely stunning moth, it really is. It's a real beauty, and you can see why it got the name of lilac beauty, because that's what it is. Though It doesn't have anything to do with the tree or shrub lilac. The larvae feed on honeysuckle. The larvae are quite splendid too, and they have a delightful way of laying eggs. The eggs are bright red, very nice. So a brilliant moth to get, only the second one ever here in the Eakring area, and hopefully, I can get it out of the pot and it won't fly off. At least not until I filmed it. Well, it's still early days, but you can see the number of moths that are starting to come in. Got a good and developing species list at the moment. We're fast heading towards 60 species already. Nothing particularly unusual has come in since the last update. One or two swallowtail moths, absolutely beautiful things, and hopefully one will settle down. They don't always settle down, but you can see how many moths are coming in. This is always a good place to trap, especially on favourable nights such as this. Drinker moth just this end of the sheet, first one of the year, but a really good session so far. On the theme of beautiful moths, here's a beautiful hook tip. Not the most pristine of specimens, but one of two that are in and have settled down nicely at the light. I always like it when they're cooperative, but very nice moth indeed. I think this is a moth which has increased over the last 10-15 years or so. It eluded us for a number of years, and then eventually we caught a couple at the site of the former Bevercoats colliery many years ago, and since then it's proved to be regular in the trap. And I do get this at home, so this is one of those spectacular moths that you'll see as you flick through your field guide on a rainy, wet winter's evening, hoping for one of these when you first start trapping. And you're very likely to turn one of these up in your first year. It's an absolute beauty of a thing. That's beautiful hook tip, and say one of two that are in now. What a nice species this is. It really is a cracking thing. Well, they're gradually increasing, but you may well be able to see that the friendly neighbourhood midges have returned, which is unusual because we never used to get midges here like this. It's only that last trapping session that I did do from here that I've had them. They keep sort of coming and going. Hopefully we're not going to get the clouds that there were the other week, but we're certainly getting plenty of moths. And say we're on to 60 species. Moths coming in all the time at the moment, and it's been enough to keep me constantly busy. So I need to check to see what else is coming around the light and have a cup of tea while I've got the chance. Well, what about this for a beauty? This is an absolutely pristine swallow-tailed moth, and thankfully this is a species which, once again, if you're new to trapping, you will soon turn up in your garden. I remember seeing these flying around the street lights years ago when I was a youngster in the 1980s. And here we are. Thankfully it's still a common moth in urban areas. I get numbers of these to the light at home. Didn't used to get that many here. I can't remember getting any numbers at all here, but there are about 5 that are in at the moment. So that's a swallowtail moth. It's an absolute stunner of a thing, it really is. And this one more stunning because it's so pristine. Well, lots of moths are at the light. We're just after midnight now, and I'm not going home. But it's been a great night so far. The midges are just starting to come in again. They've drifted off not so long ago, but of the moths that have come in, I'll just go through the list. Can't film them all, so I'll have to put photos in, but there is a privet hawk moth that's just thudded into the phacelia growing at the side here, and now 2 elephant hawk moths are in. Of note of the others, first small angle shades of the year. That's a very attractive moth, small angle shades, very nice and very different to angle shades. A very worn foxglove pug, which is common at light anyway, but this one was very worn. Sandy carpet is a moth that don't always catch a lot of. We used to get 1 or 2 here years ago, but struggled with them since. So a couple of elephant hawk moths, and the rest is pretty ordinary stuff. First scarce footman of the year. There's quite a few clays in now, no white points as yet. Contentious issue in Nottinghamshire is white point, but lots of moths coming in, lots of moths around the light. These are really great times to be into moth trapping. The weather is fabulous. We tend to get one spell of classic weather for mothing, but of course the fine weather, if it's fine and dry, it allows the moths to breed and reproduce and get the next brood going, but they tend to die off quite quick. So this fine weather might be nice for us to waltz around the countryside in, but it tends to just shorten the flight periods a little bit. So make the most of your fine weather for moth trapping. We don't get it very often, so it's very rare to get it. Maybe 1, 2 periods in the year if we're lucky, and this is a good one. We've got high temperatures coming the next couple of days or so, and so there will be more moth trapping videos. And I need to finish this cup of tea and have a look around the sheet to see what sneaked in without me looking. Well, here's an absolutely stunning species. It's relatively common across the UK and will turn up at the light in small numbers. I usually get 1s or 2s of these, but they don't usually settle down like this one. And this is a buff archer's. If you think that the UK's moths are all brown and dull and hairy, then look at this moth and think again. It's exquisitely marked and patterned. I like those sort of squiggly lines to the wings, to the forewings, and there's 2 lines that make a triangle with the leading edge of the wing, but just at the back of the thorax is a grey triangular area, and that's an area of the wing which for some reason is devoid of scales. They're all like this, it's how they are, but what a stunning moth. It really is an absolute belter of a thing. And the good thing about this is that they don't usually do this. They tend not to settle at the light, not in my experience anyway. But this one is making an exception for us and is rounding the night off quite nicely indeed. There's been a couple of these in, but it's a super thing, isn't it? Absolutely super. I'm just about to have a last wander around the sheet, just see if anything has sneaked in that I've not seen. And moths are still coming in, but there's not so many now. Temperature is down to 11. I didn't think it'd drop as low as that, But I've ended up with 89 species, and there's a couple more micros to take home and identify in the morning. So we're looking at about 90 species again, and that's a very, very respectable total in my experience, and especially for here. So time to have a steady pack up, see if I've missed any juicy bits, and then home.